I love talking about scripts, and scripts are killing your business. I guarantee you. I guarantee it because I do secret callers, and you can tell who are on scripts, which means, right? This is what baffles me about scripts. You call somewhere, pick a place you hate to call. Verizon, there's all kinds of places. Your bank, right? And you can tell someone's on a script. And why do you hate that they're on a script? This is the big takeaway. And I guarantee you this is happening in your business when I secret call. People are not listening. They're worried about moving through and checking boxes on a script, and therefore they're not listening. And if they're not listening to you, then guess what? You've already started to decrease their trust. You've already started to increase their uncertainty. You've already started to increase their fear and doubt that you're just like everybody else and you're just like the last place they had a bad experience, right? So, whoa. So, right? We've got to get away from the scripts. Now, it doesn't mean, right, we don't have data collect. There's ways to do this. But here's the one thing I'm going to tell you right now. We're only, a minute in. Here's the pivot. You must go from a script to an outline. Call it an outline, a flow sheet, a process. If you go to that, because when you hand people a script and teach them from the script, it's hello, how are you? Can I get your name? Can I get your date of birth? Because it's scripted out that way. People will read the script. People focus on the script, not the person on the other side. The cool thing about the 5-step process that I put together, number one is you have to acknowledge. Number two, you find their problem to be solved. So you can hear those are questions that need to be answered, right? Find their problem to be solved, find their expectations. So there's a conversation that flows. And when you train people and you hand it to someone, they're going to say, how do I do this? If you hand them a script, just read it, right? Which means you're not listening. If I'm going to ask you what problem you have solved, want solved, the focus is on them and the question and the answer you're going to get to them so you can continue to build a conversation. So the reason scripts are killing your business is because people are asking questions and not listening. They're worried about checking boxes, right? Can I get your name? Jerry. Great. By the way, the number of places I've called that have asked me my name like that, and then later in the call said, can I get your name again? Which is dead on. They're filling out a checklist. They have a sheet of paper on the desk in front of them. If a new patient calls, just follow this checklist and get these things from them. No listening, just a list of items, a list of data that needs to be collected in order to put them into an EMR, in order to track this person most of the time so you can bill them, right? Let's face it, EMRs are about compliance and billing, right? And people structure these intake calls around the EMR. And I can tell. It's funny. I can tell what EMR a lot of clinics are on by the questions they ask me, because the questions will vary from clinic at times, from clinic to clinic. And I start with, what EMR are you on? They're like, so-and-so. And I said, yeah, I thought so. Or, oh, I thought it might've been different, but I could tell because you asked me like 2 questions that nobody else does. Important shit, of course, like my address. Cracks me up when a healthcare office asks people their address on their first phone call. And they'll tell me the business reasons or the billing reasons why they need it. But again, as a checklist, it just sounds like a checklist. Can I get your first name? Can I get your last name? Can I get a date of birth? Can I get your diagnosis? Can I get your doctor? Right? Even the places I call it very little bit. Oh, it's Jerry, sorry to hear you have low back pain. Let's get you scheduled. Then digresses into that checklist. You need a flow sheet. You need a process, right? And that's what I put together and I developed after a year plus of answering and calling back patients, answering the phones and scheduling new patients in my business. And that 5-step process is what you guys have heard it here. It's on my YouTube page for free. If you type in 5-step process or 5-step, it'll come up. That 5-step process was put together by me because I didn't know how the conversation needed to flow. I knew what data needed to be collected, but I didn't know how the conversation needed to flow. So when I started answering the phone and trying to figure out this conversation that needed to be had, I was taking notes all the time. And then I was taking the research that said what people want and what we needed to make people successful. And then I came out, wow, this is just a 5-step flow sheet, right? And in the middle of this, we can collect data and it sounds like it's just part of a conversation and not part of a checklist, right? And if we're going to set and manage expectations and build trust on this first phone call, then it can't just be a checkbox. Checkboxes don't build trust. I'm going to argue checkboxes really don't manage and set expectations either. They do some, right? Right. They may help people to understand if you take their insurance and things like that, which are really important. But most of the time, they don't do anything to manage and set expectations. And the way to decrease fear, doubt, and uncertainty and build trust is to manage and set expectations. So if you take this 5-step process, acknowledge the problem to be solved, get their expectations, sell the expert, make sure they know what they're going to get for their time, money, and energy, ask them how to pay, and then recap. I think that's 6, but that's because the recap at the end. And the recap is just to remind them why they should arrive. Right? If you put that down and look at it, you're like, yeah, this is what we need. This is what we need to build a relationship with these people. This is what we need to do upstream to make sure someone is prepared and ready to meet their expert who's going to deliver the 3 things that they want that I've talked about in other videos. And I'm not trying to hold this stuff back. I don't want to go down those rabbit holes, right? The goal is to set the expert up for success, right? And people want 3 things from that expert. Well, we have to make sure we're managing and setting that expectation during the first phone call. That 5-step process is set around that. And at the same time, it is set up to extract and get from the person the data we need from the business side to put them into an EMR, to track them, to possibly submit bills and things like that. But that's not the focus. The focus is to build trust and to make sure they are prepared to arrive, not to get data to put into an EMR. So the one mindset shift you have to make and get away from is no scripts, no checkboxes. Put together a conversation and then practice this, right? Going through this with clinics right now. This is the work I do. This is when I talk about front desk sales solutions. When I talk about front desk sales, I teach people how to manage a conversation built around the 5-step process that will do what? Manage and set expectations, build trust, set an expert up for success, and increase the likelihood of a ride, pay, and stay, all at the same time as getting the business information we need into the system, right, for this person. Call a healthcare clinic. Tell me how that goes. Call any clinic. Call a doctor. Call a dentist. Call anywhere. Tell me how that goes. Tell me what they know about you when you hang up the phone. I guarantee you, you call one of the clinics I've trained, what they're going to know about you is your problem to be solved, what your expectations are. What you're going to know is your expert's name. You're going to know what you're going to get for your time, money, and energy during that first visit with that expert. And no, this phone call does not go any longer. This cracks me up all the time. Jerry, your process is going to take forever. And I'm like, you've never called clinics. I've been on the phone 8-10 minutes with clinics who know nothing about me, just going through the check boxes. So no, this process does not take longer. It does at the beginning. It's a learning curve. It's just like anything else. It's like learning golf. It's like learning baseball, how to throw a baseball. Okay. It doesn't take longer. It takes repetition. It takes commitment, right? But yet it's just a conversation to do what? To manage and set expectations, to build trust, and to decrease fear, doubt, and uncertainty. To do what? To increase the likelihood of arrival, pay, and stay. And then what's that mean? A completed course of care. What's that mean? Patient success. Patient success starts at the first phone call with a 5-step process, right? You can systematize this. You can systematize patient success throughout their whole journey if we understand it this way. So get away from the script, get the 5-step process. If you want it, reach out to me. I've got it. I told you what it was, but I'll send you a sheet with some little notes in there, a little breakdown, because then you've got to commit to sitting with your front desk and working on the conversation. If you hand it to someone, it's going to be awkward and they're going to hate you. If you've been having them read off a script and now you give them this process, they're going to go, this is too hard. You know, it's interesting. I got some feedback yesterday. People don't want to have this conversation, Jerry. I'm like, tell me why. I'm like, when's the last time you called your doctor's office and they made you slow down and share what you really needed from them rather than your diagnosis? I said, people's expectations are they're going to be on and off the phone because all you're going to do is go through a checklist. So what a great way to start building a relationship with someone and telling them they should trust you by slowing them down and saying, hey, Jerry, this is what I'd like to do next. I'd like to learn more about you. You mentioned you had low back pain, but I'd like to learn more about you and the difficulties you're having day to day because of this low back pain. So I can make sure we have the right expert for you and I can make sure we're the best fit for you. Will that work for you? I think you guys know 80% plus percent of the time that gets answered with a big fat yes. Periodically, it doesn't, but there's a strategy for that. And if you know the process, then you know how to manage all of this. So I'm happy to share it with you. Commit to sitting down with your front desk team, or if you want to speed it all up and you want to knock it all out, connect with me, the front desk training, right? We can do an audit of your front end systems and see what process you're currently doing and see what parts need to be filled in. Maybe maybe the process is good. The team just needs to tighten up the conversation and move from an unstructured or checklist structure into more of this conversational structure to put more people on the schedule that will arrive, pay, and stay. Cheers, all. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you guys coming here. I love talking about this stuff. I'm happy to talk with anybody who wants to talk about this or learn more about it. And I'm happy to send that 5-step process to anybody. It's sitting on every desktop of every computer I have. And again, if you want to go to my YouTube page and just search in the page 5-step or probably 5, type in 5-step. And there's probably 3 or 4 videos that have come on it that'll really walk you through this stuff. Cheers, all. Thanks for coming.